Okay, we're going to watch another game here really quickly. This is again on Shakura's Plateau, and let me turn on only the Protoss player's vision. Get off their camera so this isn't flying around. This Protoss player is going to Pylon Scout, which I was telling you about before. It's definitely good to Pylon Scout just so you can have earlier information. So there goes his probe. He's going to run out there and see what's over in the Terran base. And I'm going to have this on fast forward just so I can keep this as succinct as possible. Well, he's going to see barracks is starting. You can look at your own supplies. You're at 12 supply. That's a normal supply time to start your barracks. He's going to mess around in his base just a little bit. He could be looking around for extra barracks in his opponent's base. So this is a little more of a dangerous scout if he decided to just leave. But he's going to come back up here, see what's going on. He's going to check the status of the gas. He sees no gas right now. So it could be one of two things like we were talking about before. It could be he's hiding some barracks around his base. It could be just a gasless expand build. So we're going to see exactly how this unfolds. One dangerous thing he does is he leaves the opponent's base and he doesn't scout around the opponent's... he first of all doesn't really see how many SCVs the opponent has. He just kind of poked in there to see what the gas was doing. And he also didn't stick around to see if this was going to change into an orbital command. So if this was an event where the Terran player decided to put a barracks here and put a barracks here, or like over here in the dark space, he wouldn't know that those were there, both because he didn't see that the orbital command was coming, and he didn't check the dark space. So this is kind of a dangerous scout. This is not what happens in this game in particular, but that's just something that you really need to watch out for. It's so important to get as much information with your probe as you can, and then try to keep that probe alive. But if you go to a Terran player's base, let me go on everyone's view, you can see that the Marine has a build time of 25 seconds. So if they don't start their orbital command within 25 seconds of when their barracks is done, then they're going to be so far behind if they're running a super tight build. So you have time to scout to see if that orbital command is going to start, and then leave without your SCV dying. I'm pretty sure this game also offers a second wave of scouting and also a third wave of scouting that I wanted to show. So let me fast forward here so we can get to that part. So he figures it's a one barracks expand, gasless expand, so he's going to feel free to take his own expansion. And if you see anything like that where just one barracks, no or just one gas, you're usually safe to take an expansion. But especially if you see the no gas, one barracks play, you can do pretty much whatever you want to that, and you should be pretty safe. You can either, throw down a bunch of gateways and go fight them. You can take your own expansion. So there's a lot of things you can do from that are pretty safe, because he's not going to be pressuring for quite a while. So we'll go ahead and press forward in this. We'll get to the next stage of what he's actually doing. So right now, he is not opting to scout with the first units out of his gateways, because these are going to be sentries, and you can't scout with those. They're just going to die too easily, and they're too slow to run away from a lot of those barracks units. So instead, he's going to go ahead and take a fast robotics facility, and he's going to chrono out an observer to see exactly what's going on in the enemy base. So basically, your first stage of scouting is really to determine if they're going for barracks units or if they're teching really hard, like putting up a factory and a starport, and they're going to bring banshees to your base or something like that. So that's what this observer is going to reveal, if you didn't already assume that from his opener. So we're going to send the observer over and figure out exactly what's going on. Observer's going to float in, and it's going to be just fine as far as gathering the information that he needs. So what he sees now is he sees two gas, both mining, which is normal by this point in the game. But I want to turn your attention to right here. Let me slow this down just a little bit. That's as slow as it can go. You see this tech lab on this starport. It's spinning right now. It's doing something. That means it's researching an upgrade. And if you see this, that's 99% of the time going to mean it's going to be cloak banshees. So you need to get another observer out. You need to hang it around your base somewhere so that you can get back and forth and just sit some of your army at a common fly-in point for banshees. But getting that scouting intel of seeing that there is a starport up with a tech lab on it, and the tech lab is actually spinning, is very, very valuable scouting information. Had he just played this blind and not gotten this robotics facility, which I've seen out of a lot of games, he could just be dead right there. So you do not want to risk that kind of stuff and lose to something dumb when it's just as easy as getting an observer over there to see what's going on to actually prevent it. So I'm going to show you one more game in which somebody does not scout well, and show you what kind of results it can have and the kind of awkward situations that it prevents. So last game, I'll be right back. Okay, like I promised, one last game. This is going to be an example of what you do not want to do, and more specifically I'll run you through why you don't want to do this. This is going to be a Protoss player by the name of TT1, who is a really awkward Protoss player. He plays such a goofy style. He really doesn't scout all that much, and it's really dangerous to do stuff like that. So what we're going to see here is we're going to see actually no probes have left the base. Let me pause this and turn on just TT1's vision and go ahead and play. He does not scout after his gateway or his gas or his second pylon. So he's finally going to leave at 18 supply, and this is really, really bad because most Terrans will have their wall off done before you're going to get there. So you're going to get basically no information, and if they're going for something weird like a really fast all-in, like with Marines or even just typical barracks units, you're probably dead, and you risked all that much just to have one probe mining during all that time, which is probably something like, I don't know, 75 extra minerals. Would you rather have the 75 extra minerals, or would you risk being dead because you were too greedy to go out there and scout? So we're going to watch this probe walk out there and see what he's actually going to see by this time so that he knows how to react. He's going to check this base up here, and it's empty. So what he's going to do is he's going to head down to the next base, and uh-oh, there's a couple of Marines out. Yeah, now you have absolutely no information. For all you know, this Terran player could be having you could be going for a very popular and very menacing Marine SCV all-in build right now, and you're not going to have anything on the field to fight that. So what he's going to do is he will eventually scout with his first unit out of his gateway, which is going to be a Stalker, and he's going to get pretty lucky because there's not an all-in coming, but still, this is very dangerous, and I'll show you especially why it's very dangerous here in just a moment. What he's going to do is he's going to poke up here, and he's going to see a barracks at the top of this ramp. This is going to indicate expansion, considering nobody's going to bunker up here and not put an expansion down. And if you see nothing but Marines, it either means it's a gasless expansion, or he's saving his gas for something else like Banshees. So we'll go ahead and continue into the game. Whoops, I'm sorry. Oh well, it doesn't really matter. And what TT1 is actually going to do is we're going to get to a point of the game where, if you remember the last game we watched, the Protoss player that we were watching that game got a scout into his opponent's base at about 6:45. So let's see what TT1 has right now. TT1 has 3 gateways, he has cybernetics core, and no second stage of tech. Let's say hypothetically that this Terran player that he was fighting was running the same build as the previous one that we saw, where there were cloaked banshees coming out right here. If TT1 did not have his robotics down, he's not going to have a forge down. That banshee could come in and just kill him. And he's playing this completely overly risky for no particular reason. Now, what he's actually going to do is he's going to say, oh cool, 6 gateways, yeah, I'll just go in there and fight him. But this is the time when cloaked banshees could be on your mineral line, killing all your probes, killing all your sentries, which are actually moving out right now. So this is a horrible, horrible way to play. TT1 could have now died to 2 completely scoutable plays from Terran that are actually pretty popular. He gets fortunate that he actually does not get hit by either of these, which is a pretty low likelihood actually. But he will eventually lose this game because of his lack of information. What's actually going on in the Terran base is there's an expansion up. There are now tanks out. So if TT1 just blindly ran up this ramp, the Terran player could have some siege tanks right up here, and you can see siege mode is done. You can just have them sitting up here, and TT1 will run into a meat grinder and die and lose a bunch of units. Or the Terran player could just move forward with some tanks and fight TT1's army, which, look at this, it's just sentries, 1 zealot, and 1 stalker. Guess who's going to win that fight? So you can see if you play really greedily and you don't bother to go out and get scouting information, there's a lot of stupid stuff that could kill you that you will not be ready for if you decide to just not do it. So don't play like this. This is a terrible example of how you should be scouting in this matchup, considering this is the kind of information that he has. Whoops. All he knows is there's a bunker there. Whoop-de-doo. That doesn't mean very much. So don't play dangerously like this. Get your scouting information and just kind of study up on how you should be reacting. It's pretty simple. If you get in there and you scout and there's just 1 barracks, no gas, command center, and an orbital command starts right afterward, you can go ahead and expand off of just the 1 gateway, but go ahead and throw down a couple of gateways afterward just to compensate for any sort of pressure they might bring shortly after that. If you see 1 barracks, a gas, and an orbital command starting at the normal time, You should be okay to expand once again, but be sure to get a robotics facility down, get an observer in there, and see what's going on. If you see something like 2 to 3 barracks all coming up at the same time by the time you get there, you need to throw down 2 to 3 gateways or even a forge to protect yourself from dying. And you'll see this kind of stuff on the ladder. So I'm just preparing you for what you might see and how you need to be reacting to this scouting information. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'll be back for more very soon. Take it easy.